do you want from me? I'm just blood and flesh and bones. I'm not an answer.
Welcome to Mildly Entertaining at UNCW, the show where the Office of Military Affairs keeps you mildly entertained and more or less up to date on what's going on at UNCW. Your hosts are Joanna DeMott, the Military Liaison and Program Coordinator, and Melanie Nelson, the Military Student Services Specialist. Greetings, Joanna. How are you on this fine Wednesday?
I'm great. My children are running around. They're not used to us recording regularly anymore, so you might hear some lovely, joyful yelling or laughter of my beautiful boys in the background. How are you today, Melanie?
I'm good. It's been kind of a quiet day around here. So are they not doing, did they already do their virtual schooling for the day? And now they're just in the run around phase of their school day?
They finish their virtual school by 10 a.m. They start at 8:30 and they're done in an hour and a half. So I'm not sure how this is comparing to a normal school day, but they knock it out really quickly. It's not a lot of work for them. So from 10 a.m. till they are off. Yeah.
Off to the races. Okay, well, good to know. I am very interested in having you introduce our guest for today.
Absolutely, I'm super excited. We have retired Brigadier General Jim Carper, the Military Officers Association Southeastern North Carolina Chapter President. That's a mouthful. How are you today, Jim?
I'm doing fine, thank you. I'm probably like everybody and kind of getting tired of being restricted, but we live with it.
Speaking of being tired of being restricted, what is your life situation like now? Before this, were you working ever in an office? Were you out doing meet and greets? What was different before than what's happening now?
For my wife and I, our situation is not a lot different than it was before. We're both retired, have been. We enjoy hanging around the house, working out in the yard. I have a workshop, keeps me pretty well occupied. So other than cutting down maybe on our restaurant visits from time to time and going out to shops and stuff, it's really been about the same.
So this lifestyle is similar to what we all hope to achieve one day, is retirement lifestyle.
Well, it is for us.
Excellent. Melanie has some really important questions for you about this lifestyle and not being able to go to restaurants.
Right.
I do. Okay, so since we can't go out to restaurants right now, why I have found that a lot of people have increased their snacking load. So what I need to know is, what are you snacking on in your house? Or are you a snacker? Are you not a snacker? What are we snacking on?
I am normally a snacker. However, during this period, I've actually virtually eliminated the snacks, and my wife has too. And both of us have thankfully been able to lose a little bit of weight, and which for her has necessitated getting some new clothes. And for me, it's just cinching my belt up a little bit.
I see. Do you think that's because you just sort of have access to the food all the time, since you're in the house all the time, and it's not worth like carting around a little snack? Do you normally take snacks with you when you go on outings?
No.
Maybe that's just a thing I do with a little kid at home.
Yes, I can understand. Well, it's just my wife and I, and so both of us have said that we're grateful we're not raising children during this time. We wouldn't be able to handle that online at-home schooling and having them around 24 hours a day. So I appreciate what y'all do.
Yes, it is challenging. But it is good to know that in the retirement lifestyle, I won't have to carry snacks around unless I need them for myself, which is likely to be the case, let's be real. But okay, good to know. So when we retire, we may or may not continue our snacking habits. We are learning all kinds of things here. So I'm gonna throw you a little bit of a curveball question. We wanna hear a little bit about your career, but because we work at a college, we wanna hear about your college experience or experiences.
Okay, very briefly, I grew up in Raleigh, went to North Carolina State University, for undergraduate, got a degree in engineering, civil engineering, and had plans of going into the military. So I joined ROTC program there and was commissioned upon graduation. Went on active duty and again had plans to stay on active duty, but after I finished my officer's basic course, I went straight to Vietnam and served in Vietnam until my 2 years of active commitment from the reserve was up, and made the decision to leave the Army. Went back to Raleigh, went over to State College to get a job with the placement center, try to help them find me a job. And they talked me into going to graduate school, which was a surprise to me. It had never crossed my radar, but it was a time when graduate deferments were gone. And they were pleased to have anybody in the program that could help to keep graduate numbers up. So they were willing to take the people that probably weren't the real high performers when they were undergraduates. So I went to graduate school, got a degree in engineering foundation focus. When I left the school, I came down to Wilmington to work with the Army Corps of Engineers, and at the same time I joined the National Guard to continue my service, and ended up spending 28 years with the Corps of Engineers and 33 years total with the National Guard and active duty time combined. So love Wilmington. Been here for, I guess, 50 years this year.
You're pretty close to a Wilmington native then. I mean, just because you chose it doesn't mean you don't count as a native.
Yeah, pretty close. But when I came to Wilmington, the Wilmington natives didn't consider us Wilmingtonians. We were in, I guess I should say guests. I felt like an intruder sometime, but I enjoy the area.
So I went to high school in St. Louis, Missouri, and St. Louis is known, quite frankly, for its snobbery. And if you're not from St. Louis, then people will be kind of obnoxious to you. Luckily, I can state that I went to high school there, and I can drop the name of my high school. There's actually like a book about how you can drop the name of your high school in that town, and then that gives you your street cred, but like nothing else counts. So I can imagine what you mean when you say that when you first came to Wilmington, even though it was a place you had chosen to be and you were happy to be here, that the natives were not as interested in considering you an insider for a while.
For a while. It was a small, Wilmington was very small when I moved here. 35 to 40,000 people in the town proper. So it was a lot different.
Definitely. And UNCW was a lot different.
It was. I think they only had a few buildings built there, and it is really developed. It's a great school. I've been impressed with it. I really have, and would like for some of my children to have gone there, but they went elsewhere.
It happens. People hold it against you. Yeah, I think mostly what we've contributed is a lot of traffic to the area. I'm sure you've seen that developing.
Right.
So back to your days at NC State University. Do you have any good stories from your time in the civil engineering program?
Gosh, I got to think of something that I'm willing to tell, but
I love asking dangerous questions.
I took a break my first semester of my senior year and went to work. I just needed a break from school, so I went to work and actually worked for a construction company, a big construction company in North Carolina called TA11, and came down and helped do the layout for the New Hanover Hospital when they were starting construction of it, which was a unique experience and good experience for me. And I enjoyed, I had never been to Wilmington before. I enjoyed the area. didn't know I'd end up here, but you know, I probably did my share of foolish things that I don't want to tell other people and admit to my kids, but I was lucky that I grew out of most of it, I think. I really don't honestly know a good funny story to tell you about being in college. I enjoyed my time.
Well, that is good to hear. I will say for our listeners that the expression on his face right now is pretty priceless. So I am sure there are stories. They're just not floating to the surface right now, or at least that's our protective stance here.
Right.
But you know, what I'm hearing in your story is that there is hope for our students because look, you took a break your senior year of college and you still graduated with your intended degree. You got basically an internship, even though it was paid work. You did a little bit of exploration in the field. We are big proponents of that here for our undergraduate students. And then, like you said, you didn't even know you were going to wind up in Wilmington, but you'd had some experience here. It brought you back. A lot of our students get a little anxious about the thought of leaving Wilmington at the end of graduation. They would love to just be able to stay here, but their jobs take them elsewhere. And then they always wash back onto our shores at some point. I also enjoyed you telling about the arc of your military career because you were engaged in multiple components. You got out and became a veteran. You went back in as a graduate student veteran and then back in as a National Guard member. And all of these components built up to one master career, and you are a master civil engineering person in the, I mean, you laid the foundation for the new Hanover Regional Medical Center, another area that added a lot of traffic to this town. Like, that's some history in the making right there. I'm pretty sure that means you definitely get to call yourself a native at this point.
Well, I feel I've lived here the greater part of my life, so I feel like if I'm not a native, I'm a Wilmingtonian at least.
There you go. That's the diplomatic general officer level way of putting it. Good to know. Okay, I'm going to hand you back over to Joanna, and she's going to talk to you a little bit more about some of your civic engagement work instead of your civic engineering work.
Okay.
I'm going to throw a curveball here. Do you have an interest that you would consider a passion, something you're very passionate about, an interest of yours?
Well, over the years, when I was growing up, my dad was in the profession of being a city manager, and a position that didn't pay a lot of money no matter where he was. So we ended up moving several times, and my dad would find a house that was in a good neighborhood that needed a lot of work, and we'd move, and he would have me working with him weekends, nights, fixing up the houses. At the time, I didn't really care for it, but now I appreciate it because that's what I have enjoyed doing, and I've done that to the house that I live in for the last 40 plus years. I do enjoy woodworking. I'm fairly handy with my hands. When I retired from the Corps, I actually got my general contractor's license and ended up having a one-man remodeling and repair company, which I was the one man, but I enjoyed doing that for about 5 or 6 years. Then I went back to work for I had retired from the Guard, and I was called back with the National Guard to help prepare the National Guard's Combat Brigade for a deployment to Iraq, and to train up for that. And I worked with them for about 3 years, getting them, helping the commander train the staff and stuff, which I greatly enjoyed. And so I left my contracting business. My real passion, though, is I've got a workshop, staying out in the workshop. I've built a boat, wooden boat. Just wanted to try to do it. I got into paddleboarding, stand-up paddleboarding about 7 years ago, and that was my real passion. I don't do it anymore because my knees and hips just don't stand it very well. But I did enjoy being on the water. Other than that, I just like fiddling around the house and out in the yard and in my workshop. And I've got to admit that taking the presidency of the chapter has kept me a little busier than I thought it would, but I've enjoyed that too.
Speaking of the chapter, tell me more about the mission here locally, but then maybe MOA's overall mission.
Well, let me start with MOA's mission. MOA's mission is to encourage and facilitate a strong, viable military and support for the interest and benefits of military families, retirees, active, surviving spouses. They legislate for things to support those two things, and they also have developed a foundation to help provide scholarships for military, primarily officer families and children that need help going to college, to further that education. This past year, they implemented a COVID-19 relief grant program for active, reserve guard, retired veterans, and caregivers of veterans to help them get through this period, when they've been impacted by the financial burdens caused by the COVID. As far as our chapter, our primary goal is the camaraderie, to facilitate and encourage camaraderie between uniformed service officers and their families in our area. And our area covers 6 counties in Southeastern North Carolina: Columbus, Brunswick, New Hanover, Pender, Duplin, and Onslow. Our primary membership is based between Brunswick, New Hanover County, and probably Pender, and a few in Onslow. We have a few in the other counties, but not as great a density. We also work to protect the rights and interests of the chapter members, to assist them with when they need help and information, like surviving spouses. We have a program that works with them to ensure that they know where to go to get the things that they're entitled to. And we promote useful service of the members, the dependents, and survivors. And we try to continue to serve the community and nation by focusing on veterans programs, working with the Veterans Council of New Hanover and other counties to achieve the goals of other veterans groups, but also our primary contribution to that has been in the area of veteran scholarships. And we support veterans scholarships for UNCW, Cape Fear Community College, and Brunswick Community College. We do that each year.
You absolutely do. Super. Our students are always very excited to receive those scholarships or to be eligible for them. It's really wonderful. But I love the mission. I love the advocacy. I love the promotion. I love the protection of your own. That's amazing. Absolutely. Do you think, when you tell somebody that you are the president of this chapter for MOA, what are some of the misconceptions people have surrounding that?
Gosh, I'm not sure how to answer that. I'm just not really sure. I'll have to think about that. Maybe I can come up with an answer to that question.
Nobody said anything wild, like, what is MOA? Are we taking care of lawns?
Well, they do. Yeah, new people that don't know about MOA are interested when you say that. And there are a lot of retired former officers and surviving spouses of officers who are not aware of MOA's objectives and of the chapter. But the greater portion of our membership is people who join MOA either early in their service and had stayed, this is at the national level, had been in other chapters, or stayed as they moved throughout their military career, and for some personal reason decided to make this area their home and have sought out, they might seek us out or we might seek them out and let them know about the chapter, and they have decided to join for a lot of the social aspects and to try to give back something to the veteran community as well.
So I'm married to a retired military officer, and in my neighborhood, there are lots of military officers, some retired, some who got out at various points. If I'm talking to them about MOA, what should I tell them when I want to say, what's in it for me? What do I tell them?
Well, of course, for us at the chapter level, we think the most important part is providing our members a good atmosphere to socialize together with people that have like experiences and maybe like interest. We all are used to working with people from our particular branch of service, and all of a sudden we come into a program that has Army, Navy, Air Force, Marines, the standard four that you think about, but we also include Coast Guard, the U.S. Coast Guard, the U.S. Public Health Service. We also have the National Oceanographic and Atmospheric Agency, NOAA, are eligible members. Surviving spouses of all those organizations are eligible for membership. And the new one to be added is the Space Force, the U.S. Space Force, which we haven't found a member in our area yet who belongs to that. So hopefully we'll get some of those pretty soon. But the social aspect and working together to do good things in our community, I think, are important. Most of our members belong to many different veterans organizations. You know, like I'm a member of the American Legion, have been for a long time. A lot of our Navy and Marine guys are in the Naval Aviation Association. There's another group of aviators from all branches. But it gives us a lot of different perspective. We hear a lot of stories. We've had World War II veterans as members recently. They're getting awfully scarce, I'm sorry to say. Korean War veterans, quite a few Vietnam veterans, and now we're beginning to get some younger members in. That's one of the things. Our chapter is an older group. Most of us are retired. But we're getting younger members in who have served Desert Storm and Iraqi Freedom and in Afghanistan. So a lot of experiences to share.
And you can share them while kind of working on like goals and supporting the community.
Right.
That's fantastic.
The thing I think that we get, at least me personally, and I think our group does, the scholarships that we give out are primarily based on the generosity of our members. You know, what they give us donations to support the program and our veteran outreach. We do get some assistance from the national headquarters in the form of grants, but that's every year we apply for it. We've been fortunate enough to get it for the last 2 years. But the predominance of our scholarships come out of money that the members have donated. So that's a good feeling for them, and I hope for the people that are receiving it. Each year we try to increase that amount. This year we're giving out approximately, we're giving $11,000 in veteran scholarships, and we gave $6,000 in junior ROT scholarships to the high schools, from the high schools that in the area we support. We always want to increase it, but of course that's dependent on donation and the situation. So, but that's very beneficial, and we enjoy what we're able to do to assist other veterans groups. We primarily either volunteer with them or provide financial assistance to programs that they might have going on. So.
That's fantastic. So if I wanted to tell my husband, you need to join this organization. It's philanthropic. They support the community. You can tell old war stories. You can listen to war stories. You can do a lot of really good things. How would he go about joining?
Well, we have a website, which is syncland.org. Of course, Melanie knows we try to get the information out to any members we find, or we meet neighbors, meet people. Matter of fact, just to tell you a quick story, I was after the hurricane, I had to go out to Spectrum to exchange some equipment for, that had become damaged. And I was standing in line behind the gentleman, and he had on a mask that was based on the Constitution, said, "We the people across it." And I thought that was pretty neat. It was a nice looking mask. So I spoke to him and told him I liked his mask. And when he turned around, he had U.S. Coast Guard retired across the top of his hat. So we talked for a few minutes. I told him I'd been in the Army, and we shared some tales about our experiences. And then I told him about the MOA chapter. And I said, if you're interested, we'd love to have you come visit us. Yeah, I'm interested. So he gave me his email address, and we provided him some information about the chapter. And I think he's going to be a future new member for us. So however we meet people, that's what we try to let them know about the benefits of being, and the benefits are more personal to me, and I think to most of our members, than it's not what we get back by what we do for the chapter and what we participate in. I think that's the gratifying part, and a lot of good friends.
That's fantastic. We'll make sure that we put that link in our show notes when Melanie takes care of pushing the episode out to the internet and all the webs and the things. So when Melanie does that, then we'll make sure we put that link on there.
We need to talk to your husband just to invite him. Tell him he is always welcome. And we'd love to have him come by when our events start back up, and just see what the chapter is.
I'm going to have him listen to the podcast episode.
Oh, good.
We'll do it.
Yeah.
I want to thank you so much. It was great to meet you, and I'm so glad that you came on to tell us all about MOA, and we learned some really cool things about your history. And I'm just going to say it. You are definitely a Wilmingtonian. I can't even say it. I've been here for a year and a half. I can't even say it.
Yeah.
Jim is allowed to say the word. I'm not, but he definitely is one of those.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for coming on today. I will say when I am talking about MOA, when I'm calling potential new members as part of my assignment as the Navy Service Director, Joanna, I'm pretty sure I can extend that to the Marine Corps if you want me to call your husband and he can listen to me natter on about it. That won't work. I good luck with getting him to listen to this episode. Anyway, but one of the things that's interesting is, you mentioned that we're all used to kind of collaborating with people who have similar experiences from our branch of service, right? And, they always say that becoming a parent is kind of the great equalizer. Like, no matter what else you have going on in your life, when you become a parent, you are suddenly reduced to a person who has some very specific tasks in life. And I think becoming a veteran is a great equalizer too, because it no longer matters what you did in the military. I mean, when I go to MOA, I'm hanging out with the pilots who never used to like to hang out with me because I was a surface warfare officer, right? So it's just a very congenial atmosphere, to use sort of an old-fashioned expression.
Well said.
And we do enjoy, I'd love to hear our students' stories when they receive scholarships from our organization, because they are the cream of the crop here at UNCW. And I know how much of a difference it makes to each of them personally that they are getting further support for their education so that they can go on and do the things that they want to do, so that they can take root in Wilmington, as a couple of them have recently, buying houses here and settling down, continuing in graduate school, or starting their professional careers, just like you did, Jim, back in the day. And eventually they will be the Wilmingtonians, to shout out that expression one more time.
Right.
Yeah. Okay, well, we will share the information about how to look up more about the Syncland chapter of MOA, the Military Officers Association of America. Again, Jim, we thank you for your time today, and this has been an episode of Mildly Entertaining at UNCW, and we will see you on the internet.
Thank you for listening to Mildly Entertaining. Our intro music comes from the band Blue Turnip and their song, What Do You Want From Me? You can find their EP Songs from the Root Cellar on Bandcamp, iTunes, Amazon, and Spotify. For more information, you can go to blueturnipmusic.com.